Hi guys, Mike the Gaming Dad here and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to talk about dragon shouts. In Skyrim, shouts are phrases of the dragon language consisting of 3 separate words of power that can be used to unleash a variety of powerful effects. Dragons are naturally able to use these shouts, but very few people possess this capability. Skyrim the game centres around you, the fabled Dragonborn, a mortal with the soul of a dragon, who was born with this power. What I'll aim to do in this guide is show you where you can find every word of power for all 27 shouts in Skyrim. I'll also give a brief showcase of what each shout does, and I'll group them into how useful I think they are, from not useful at all to essential. I've created a new character to join us on this epic journey across Skyrim. Let me introduce to you our Dragonborn, the linguistic lizard, shouts many words. I hope you enjoy. There's going to be a lot to cover in this video, so I'll do my best to move at speed. There will be some spoilers in this video though if you are new to the game, so my apologies for that, as to gather every shout requires us to complete the main questline and a good part of all the other major stories. So the first shout in this guide will be the one everyone knows about, the most famous shout in the game, Unrelenting Force, the first word of which is found in Bleak Falls Barrow. I will do all these in alphabetical order by the way, apart from this first shout. The only reason I'm covering this one first is because it appears so early in the story and everyone, even new players, will likely have it and know about it. Here is the word wall here. Now when you first pick up this shout you won't be able to use it, and that is until one quest later in the story when you slay your first dragon. You as the Dragonborn will absorb the slain dragon's soul, thus allowing you to learn the first word of this shout. Equip this and give it a test out on the guards.
Dragonborn.
The player will then be summoned to High Hrothgar to meet with the Greybeards, who will also want a taste of your voice. It's here that you'll learn the second word of Unrelenting Force, gifted to you by the Greybeards. The Greybeards will also give you the knowledge to use this second word. You'll then have the chance to test out your new shout, and rearrange all the Greybeards' pottery in the process.
Your thumb is precise. You show great promise, Dragon.
Why, thank you. The Greybeards will then send you on a quest to Ustengrav to retrieve the horn of Jurgen Windcaller. Once you eventually retrieve the horn, via Delphinian Riverwood, you'll receive the third and final word of Unrelenting Force. Again, the Greybeards gift you the knowledge to use this word. Now, Unrelenting Force may be the most widely known shout in Skyrim. It's probably one of the most popular too, and for good reason. It's incredibly useful in a number of situations. The full 3 words of this shout will blast enemies over, allowing the player to rush in and get a number of attacks away before they can even respond. But the first word of this shout can be useful as well. Simply tapping the shout will stagger an enemy, potentially preventing an arrow or strike with a weapon, allowing the player again to attack first. Or you may just enjoy shouting things off cliffs. Either way, I think this shout deserves to be put into the essential category, starting out with a good one. It's probably worth pointing out now that at this point in the story you can ask the Greybeards if they have located any words of power. They may then give you the location of a random one which will help you in locating them. Also, using your shouts out in the open may result in the courier giving you a letter from someone, which also gives you the location of a random word of power. The next shout is Animal Allegiance. The first word of this can be found in Angervund, and here is where Angervund can be found on the map. If it's the first time you've entered this location, there'll be a dark elf called Madracy Dran near the entrance, and she will request your help in clearing out the cave of Draugr.
I'll tell you what, you help me get the treasure, and I'll split it with you. Deal? Excellent. With my brains and your brawn, that treasure will soon be mine. Ours. First, I need you to clear the main chamber of those monstrosities.
At the end of this quest, you'll find the first word of Animal Allegiance. The next word of this is located at a dragon lair. We'll be finding a lot of these on our journey and slaying a lot of dragons. This one is Ancient Sen, located high above Falkreath. This location can be a challenge to get to, as this mountain range is quite steep, If you are struggling to get to it, just head through Bone Chill Passage. It'll take you right to the Dragon Lair. To get the final word of animal allegiance, we need to join up with the companions.
A stranger comes to our hall. Would you now? Here, let me have a look at you. Yes, perhaps. A certain strength of spirit.
At the very end of the companions' questline, you'll be sent to Ysgramor's tomb. At the completion of the Glory of the Dead quest, when you are exiting the tomb, head straight through and up this pathway here, which will have previously been closed off. And this will take you out high above Ysgramor's tomb. Climb the steps here and the word wall will be located at the summit. Now what this shout does is calm and control the animals of Skyrim. They will fight with you for a short time, but this is where my main issue with this shout is. Where do you normally fight anything where you require the assistance of animals, or there are even animals there in the first place? Unless it's a bandit camp whereby a bear happens to be nearby, it's never actually going to come into play, as shown here. This shout has stopped this spider being hostile, but I'm not fighting anything, so in this scenario it more works like a pacify spell. It is worth noting that once the shout wears off, any living animals do become hostile again, as shown here. Using the shout again though will stop this. It's also worth saying that animals under the effect of this spell won't fight back, and attacking them doesn't break it, but to be honest, it's a shout I never find use for, so I'm going to grade this one as not useful. The next shout on our list is Aura Whisper, and there is a word for this shout located at Northwind Mine, which is about halfway between Riften and Windhelm. Venture through this mine and at the summit will be the word wall and a dragon. To find the second word to this shout, head to Vollenrude, and this is located about halfway between Whiterun and Dawnstar. Now this location can be quite confusing due to having so many different entrances inside. The place you need to be heading eventually is directly ahead. The entrances immediately to the left and right contain the ceremonial weapons which you need to be able to get through this large door. And once you've dealt with the boss in this dungeon, you can claim the word wall which is just around the corner. Aura Whisper's final word is located here, in the ancient tomb of Valthoom, and this is a dragon priest lair, the first one we encounter on this list. And the quest here is quite a good one I think, Evil in Waiting. At its conclusion you'll find the word wall. What Aura Whisper does is it allows the Dragonborn to see all living and undead creatures, even through walls. The shout is silent as well, so won't alert anyone to your location, so immediately this one is great for any stealthy character. If like me you like role playing, you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of this shout, as it gives you that added immersion of being able to take out enemies before they see you, or get the first couple of shots away in groups of enemies. For warrior builds though, you may not use your shout much if at all, so I'm going to rank this overall as a strong shout in the right playstyle. The next shout in our list is Battle Fury, and this is the first one of the 4 shouts I will showcase which were added as part of the Dragonborn questline, which takes place on the island of Solstheim. This may not be the first shout you encounter on Solstheim though. In fact, I'll wager it's probably one of the rarer ones in Skyrim that not many people encounter. The reason why is its requirements to find it are actually quite long. What the player needs to do is start the Dragonborn questline, and head up to the Temple of Mirak to complete this quest and speak to Freya, which will start the Temple of Mirak.
Isra, I'm here to help you. You must leave this place. You there. What brings you to this place? Why are you here? It seems wrong.
Fight your way through here, and at the end you'll encounter the Black Book, Waking Dreams. Read this to be transported to Apocrypha, where you will encounter Mirak for the first time.
The time comes soon when... What? Who are you to dare set foot here? You are Dragonborn. I can feel it.
Perhaps Storm can make
This will then start the quest, The Fate of the Scarl.
Come, there looks to be a way out through here.
The south.
Complete this quest and then start Hidden Knowledge.
There is something else.
At this point, and only after this point, a shoot off to the main questline starts. Leave the Scarl village and come back again, and this should trigger this encounter with Dior, whereby the Dragonborn can ask Dior about the blacksmith's disappearance.
Do you want a head full of grey hairs?
I saw two elves in the far distance dragging some south and west. If your road takes you that way, perhaps you could search for any sign of Baldur.
After this dialogue sequence, the quest A New Source of Stalrim starts.
Until our next meeting, Skull friend. May your hunts always bring you game.
When you've found Baldur and safely returned him to the village, this NPC should show up, Tharstan, who will mention an expedition to the tomb of Valor, and this starts the quest, Lost Legacy. Quite a lot of hoops to jump through, isn't it? Well, the reason why this is necessary is this location won't even be on the map if you haven't completed up to here. This entire section here is covered and the tomb isn't visible at all. I won't give any more spoilers to this quest though, but I do recommend doing it. Lost Legacy is a great quest with a lot of unique puzzles in it, but in each of the subsections of this tomb, you'll find one of the 3 words of power to Battle Fury. All 3 words are actually located inside Valok's tomb. Now what Battle Fury does is it increases the attack speed of your allies, followers and summoned creatures. At its most powerful they'll attack 70% faster, to basically do 70% more damage. It's a bit like Elemental Fury I guess in that respect. So if you utilise multiple followers, or maybe even one follower but one that you rely on a lot, maybe you play on legendary difficulty or set yourself challenges like a permadeath playthrough, then you'll probably find use for this shout. It does make a difference. I won't say it's one I use all that much though, and on some playthroughs I don't use followers, in which case I have no use for this shout at all. So in that respect, I'm going to rank this one as situational. It's going to be great for some players, but some may never use it at all. The next shout on our list is Become Ethereal, and the player will find the first word for this shout in Ustengrav, which we explored earlier. It can be easily missed this one though. To find this one, head down here, and you'll find the word at the base of this waterfall. To find the second word for Become Ethereal, head to this location. This is Lost Valley Redoubt in the Reach, and this is a Forsworn stronghold, so you'll need to fight your way to the top. At the very top though you'll get to this crossroad. I covered this location in one of my recent videos. This is Bard's Leap Summit this way to the north. If you head the opposite way here, south, you'll find the word wall along with a couple of Hargravens up to no good. To find the third word, head south from the Wayward Pass as shown here. Over these rocks is Ironbind Barrow.
Must gather our strength. Who knows what's inside?
Treasure, that's what. Get off your scale.
I'll just show the location of this on the map. This is another good quest, I think. You'll fight through the dungeon with Salma and Beamjar, the latter being quite a powerful mage. I won't spoil the ending though, but here is where you'll find the final word wall. While using Become Ethereal, the player becomes invulnerable to any damage, including trap and fall damage, which can be great fun. Personally, this is what I enjoy most out of using this shout, a bit of parkour from atop the throat of the world. This shout isn't just a party trick though. Being able to go impervious to damage is incredibly useful, buying you valuable time to get away or recover during a tough fight. You can't deal damage in this state, doing so will end the shout's effect, as shown here. Still, it's a great trick to have up your sleeve though should you need it, so on this basis I'm going to rank this shout as essential. Back to Solstheim now for the second of the Dragonborn DLC shouts, and this one is Bend Will. Searing's Watch is the location of the first shout. You'll pick this one up during the main Dragonborn questline. I will point out at this point though, Mirak can show up now and take the souls of any dragons you slay, which if you're completing them to unlock words of power, can be quite annoying, so you may want to complete the questline and get rid of him once and for all. To find the next word for Bend Will, complete the quest The Path of Knowledge. This will immediately start the Gardener of Men, whereby the Dragonborn needs to read another black book. Here you will encounter Hermaeus Mora, who will give you the second word.
Use the knowledge you need, although you did not know you needed it. The second word of power. Use it to bend the wills of mortals to your purpose.
It's at this point that you can choose to empower one of your shouts. You get the option of either making Unrelenting Force do more damage and have the chance to disintegrate enemies, or have it that your Fire Breath shout causes a fire worm to emerge to fight for you for 60 seconds if the shout kills an enemy, or lastly your Frost Breath shout can encase foes in ice. The third word of Bend Will is given to you by Hermaeus Mora in exchange for the knowledge of the Skull.
I give you the word of power that you need to challenge Mirak.
Each word of this shout actually has a different effect. The first word is used to cleanse the stones during the Dragonborn questline. The second forces neutral people and animals to fight for you for 30 seconds. But it's the last word that the majority are interested in though. This allows you to tame and ride dragons. I'll just demonstrate this now. And that's pretty much it. Once a dragon has been subdued, climb aboard and fly away. You can command them to attack, land, and so on. And this is probably one of the most satisfying shouts in Skyrim, so for that reason I couldn't not put this in the essential category. The next shout is the Call Dragon shout, and this requires the player to complete the main questline up to the Council with the Greybeards. You learn all three words of this shout simultaneously from Esbern at the conclusion of the council. The very first time you use this shout, you'll be able to entice the dragon Odahviing to battle during the plan to trap him inside Dragon's Reach. After you've completed the main questline in its entirety, you'll finally be able to use this shout again and you can summon Durnehviir to battle by your side. At first, the novelty of this is great, having an unkillable dragon to fight with you, but I have two main issues with it though, which I think limits its use. The main issue as shown here is the time it takes for Durnehviir to appear. It makes sense it's not simultaneous, but still, you couldn't really rely on this in a life or death situation, could you? The cooldown is also a minor problem. 5 minutes it takes to be able to shout again after using this one, meaning use it, and that's other shouts pretty much out the question for the entirety of most fights. Once the novelty of having Durnehviir burning stuff overhead wears off, means it doesn't really get much use at all I think, and for that reason I'm going to rank it as limited. Call of Valor is the shout you acquire at the very end of the main questline in Sovngarde. All 3 words of this shout are learned simultaneously.
Return now to me, with this rich boon from shore, my lord. A shout to bring a hero from Sovngarde in your hour of need.
Each word of this shout summons a different hero to fight by your side, but you won't be able to shout again for 3 minutes afterwards, so it's fairly long. But I feel by the time you get this shout, you probably don't need it, and chances are your standard follower is already powerful enough, rendering this shout getting limited use at best. Another shout the player learns all at once. This one is Clear Skies, which is given by the Greybeards during the main quest, The Throat of the World. You see all 3 words to this out in the courtyard, and are then gifted the knowledge to the shout immediately after.
I will grant you my understanding of clear skies. This is your final gift from us, Dragonborn. Use it well.
This shout is actually essential in certain parts of the storyline. First, to clear the icy winds blocking your path up to the top of the mountain to meet Parthenax. And then again during Sovngarde to clear Alduin's Mist. Outside of this though, in gameplay, it clears poison traps and the skies if you don't like looking at inclement weather, but I'm going to chuck it in the not useful pile. Shout 10 on our list, and the third of the 4 Dragonborn DLC shouts, is Cyclone. 1 word to this shout is found inside Benkongerike. This location starts off as an ice cave full of Reeklings, which then the deeper you go becomes an ancient Nordic tomb. At the end through this gate will be the word wall. The second word to Cyclone isn't far away at all, and this is White Ridge Barrow, just west of Benkongerike. You'll have a dragon priest, Dukan, to contend with here. Defeat him and the word wall is just behind his tomb. There's also another black book here as well, so don't leave and miss that. Now the third word to Cyclone is located inside Colborne Barrow, located just here on the map. The only way of getting into this location is by starting the Unearthed quest by talking to Rallis.
With me? What's the matter with you? Sorry, I've just had a lot of hawk-faced cowards coming.
Now the third time you come in here, you'll see the top of the word wall just exposed, and you'll be able to hear the unmistakable chanting. but it's not until visit number 4 though that the word wall will be fully exposed and you'll be able to claim it. What this shout does is, as you'd expect, create a swirling vortex of wind that picks enemies up, dropping them to deal damage. It's quite a nice shout visually, and it can be useful. I find this one particularly good for dealing with giants. It throws them into the air and they sort of amusingly fall on the ground, allowing you to start wailing on them. A good one if you find yourself ever needing to farm giants' toes. The shout does do reasonable damage as well when enemies fall. For me personally, it's too similar to Unrelenting Force, so I end up using that instead of Cyclone, so I'm going to put this one in situational. The Disarm shout is next on our list, and one of the words to this can be found at Eldersbrook Peak. They are useful, these Dragon Lair locations, as you need a lot of Dragon Souls to be able to unlock all of the shouts in this list. I'll just show where this one is on the map, here, just near Morthal. I got to this one by travelling up to North Cold Rock Pass and then up the stairs. The next word to this can be found inside Silverdrift Lair. The bandits here have taken quite a beating from the Draugr, and the word will be found at the end of the lair. The final word is located inside Snowvale Sanctum, just here on the map. Now in order to get this one, you'll need to complete the Thieves Guild questline up to the quest Speaking with Silence. I think this is the 5th quest maybe, so past Taking Care of Business, Loud and Clear, Dampened Spirits and Scoundrel's Folly. Sorry, I had to include these words of wisdom from Mercer. Listen to this.
Pull the chain over there and watch out for the spikes. Looks like the flyer reset all of them.
You should have listened to your own advice there, Mercer, hey. I was actually laughing out loud at this bit when it happened. Anyway, you'll find the word wall towards the end of the dungeon. Now Disarm is an interesting one. Enemies it can affect, it'll force them to drop their main weapon, so if they have a secondary weapon, say a dagger, they'll then use that. And this can be really strong at early levels by massively reducing the damage certain enemies can do to you. The problem is the strongest version only works on enemies up to level 30, so in the later game, you'll find that your use for this shout just falls away. I'm going to rank this one as situational because up to that point, you might find this one makes some fights way easier. The next shout is the Dismaying shout, and we are currently stood within Labyrinthian. If you walk around this central mound, you'll see this entranceway bookended by 2 stone faces. Head through here to find the entrance to Shalidor's maze. A curious place, this maze. Oddly though, you don't actually need to solve the maze to actually get the shout. If you just walk around the outside of it, the word wall is at the other end. The next word to dismay can be found by going to Hag Rock Redoubt. I'll just show where this is on the map. It's just here, southwest of Markarth. The word isn't located here though, it's at the top of Dead Crone Rock, but you can only reach here by travelling through Hag Rock Redoubt. Fight your way to the top of Dead Crone Rock to find a Hargraven lair along with the word wall. You may find yourself coming up here anyway, as this is one of the 3 locations when finding the parts of Mehrunes Razor. The Hargraven will be carrying the pommel. and there's also a stone of Baron's Ire at this location as well on the altar, so plenty of reason to come up here. Another dragon lair to get the third and final word, and this one is at Lost Tongue Overlook, just here on the map, directly south of Riften. Now think of Dismay as your fear spell for warrior types. You can use this as an offensive type shout if you enjoy watching your enemies run off and cower before you, or as a defensive type shout by occupying several enemies to buy yourself time, or by lessening the odds against yourself when outnumbered. It does have a large area of effects that can work on multiple enemies as shown here on all these animals. In terms of strength, it works up to level 24. Now, Rout is a level 20 expert spell, and Mayhem is a level 25 master level spell, so it's actually fairly strong in that mix. On that basis, I'm going to put it in situational, because some players will use this, but those that aren't big on illusion probably won't. Dragon Aspect is up next, and one of the words for this is found inside the Temple of Miraak when you enter here with Freya.
I had heard Miraak had turned against the Dragonborn, but to display the remains of such a man.
At the end of the Dragonborn questline, you're required to read Waking Dreams to enter Apocrypha in search of Miraak. Here you will find another word of Dragon Aspect. I'm not sure if you're supposed to find this word last, so you can use the shout in your battle with Miraak, but either way I didn't. So the third and final word of this is found at Raven Rock, inside the mine. Speak to Cretius to start the quest, The Final Descent.
Company swept under the rug 2 centuries ago. It killed my great-grandfather and left Raven Rock with a worthless and tainted mind.
This is actually a brilliant quest, I think. At the bones of Gratian, Cretius' grandfather, you'll find his journal and the Bloodscale blade. Reading the journal is key to the quest, but it's the blade that is key to getting through this curious door and finding the word wall. You also have a dragon priest to contend with for your troubles as well, and this one, for me, I think is one of the hardest. He absolutely pulverises you with shock magic. It's a good job I brought a lot of healing, otherwise I'd have definitely died here. Get rid of him and learn the final word of Dragon Aspect. What this shout does at full power is it improves your power attack damage by 25%, fire and frost resistance by 25%, it gives a plus 100 armour rating, reduces shout recharge time by 20%, and summons an ancient dragonborn to fight beside you if your health drops below 50%. And all that lasts for 5 minutes. Also, when used, you receive this dragon-like armour which covers your arms, chest and head, which looks pretty damn cool. This shout is unique in that it can only be used once per day, but for all of the above, plus the length of time it stays active, I think it's extremely powerful. It's basically a boss fight shout which will massively help you in those tough situations, and one that definitely deserves to be placed in the essential bracket. Shout number 14 on our list and the halfway point now guys, and this shout is Dragonrend, and you learn this shout during the main questline, Alduin's Bane. Once you reach the throat of the world with the Elder Scroll, read it to be transported back in time.
Today, Alduin's lordship will be restored.
Let those that watch from Sovngarde envy us this day.
What Dragonrend does is it forces dragons to land, so you can slay them without having to fight them airborne until they land. And this is an excellent shout that makes amassing dragon stalls a lot easier, and it has a brief 15-second cooldown, which is nice. I almost put this in Essential, and maybe it deserves to be. It's in the strong category in my list though, because you can manage without it. For warriors it's probably Essential, but for mages and archers though, fighting dragons airborne isn't as much of an issue, but it's still very strong. The next shout is the first of the 3 Dawnguard DLC shouts, and this is Drain Vitality. The first word of this can be found at Arcwind Point, just here on the map, south of Iverstead. To find the next word of the shout, we first need to head to Fort Dawnguard. After speaking to Isran, the player will be sent on their first mission to scout out Dim Hollow Crypt to see what the vampires are seeking there. And this is located here. You get probably my favourite follower in the entire game here as well, Serana, but don't tell Lydia.
Who sent you here?
Shortly after, in this Colosseum style room, you will find the next word of the shout. At this point it'll be a while before you see the last word of Drain Vitality though, and that's because it's right at the end of the Dawnguard questline, after Awakening, Bloodline, A New Order, Prophet, Causing Echoes, Seeking Closure, Beyond Death and Unseen Visions. You'll finally start touching the sky and get to explore a new area of the map. It's well worth it in my opinion though. It's one of my favourite locations in the entire game, this. To get to it you have to travel through Darkfall Cave, where you experience this incredible location, not too dissimilar from Blackreach. This then opens up into the Forgotten Vale.
This is incredible. It's like a whole other world. Come on, the bow has to be in this valley somewhere.
It's here that Drain Vitality is located. On this frozen lake you'll have to fight not 1 but 2 dragons, and they can dive underwater as well. Oh great. After defeating them, the word wall is located on this rock face, which I think is unique as it's the only non-word wall one. What Drain Vitality does is it causes enemies to lose 5 points of stamina, magicka and health every second for 30 seconds. Now unfortunately this shout doesn't absorb those values and give them to the Dragonborn, even though it clearly makes out in the wording like it does. It only causes the damage. I'll just demonstrate this here. Used on weaker foes, like this bandit, it will be deadly. This bandit basically has a death sentence now because 5 points of health for 30 seconds is 150 points, which is more than his health pool, so he's basically dead. The damage doesn't scale though, so as you progress through the game, it'll barely tickle stronger enemies, so on this basis I'll sadly have to put it in limited. The next shout on our list is Elemental Fury, and you can find a word for this shout at South Shriekwind Bastion, northeast of Falkreath, just here on the map. And this is a deceivingly large location, so all I will say is, to find the word wall, just keep heading upwards. If you're going up, you're going the right way. You want to basically climb to the very top, and here is where the word wall is found. After you've dealt with the Draugr, of course. The next word wall can be found at Dragon's Tooth Crater, which is another dragon lair. I'll just show this on the map. Sort of southwest of Dragonbridge. You know the drill by now. Deal with the dragon for a precious dragon soul. The last word wall is located at Mount Kilcreath, and kindly, we don't need to fight through the dungeons to get this one. Spin a 180 from the shrine here and the word wall is actually outside, just up here. The strongest version of Elemental Fury doubles the Dragonborn's attack speed for 15 seconds, but it sadly cannot be used on Skyrim's enchanted weapons. It is however an excellent option if you don't, and it can really turn the tide in battle. It's also pretty busted if you use Dual Fury. For some reason the effect is multiplied rather than added, so what you end up with I think is something that's more like triple the attack speed. Despite the lack of use for enchanted weapons, I'll rank this one as strong. The next shout on our list is Fire Breath, and you'll have found this shout in Dustman's Cairn if you follow my guide. You come here with Farkas as part of the Companion's questline. The second word you'll learn from everyone's favourite dragon, Parthenax, the first time you meet him atop the throat of the world. He'll then give you the knowledge as well. Such a nice dragon. I'll also mention at this point he lets you meditate on a word of power, which will make it stronger. There are 3 to choose from, and I picked Foos, which strengthens your Unrelenting Force shout. The final location is Sunderstone Gorge, just here on the map. If you come here when you are a fairly decent level, I think I was around level 30 now, the enemies can be quite strong in here. You'll likely have to deal with a lot of fire mages who deal high damage, so watch out. You'll find the word wall at the end, along with another stone of Baron's Eye on the table, so don't miss that. And what Fire Breath does is it launches a fireball in front of the Dragonborn that's excellent for taking out foes susceptible to fire damage. I'll just demonstrate this on these vampires here. Its main weakness though is it suffers from the same scaling issue as Drained Vitality. I'll just reload here, and instead this time I'll kill the weaker vampires, and then I'll use it on the waiter who's by far the strongest. Watch this. Even though he's weak to fire, it only takes about 1/3 of his health bar off, and because of that I think I'll have to put this one in limited. Next up on the list is Frost Breath, and you can find a word for this shout at Bone Strewn Quest, which is sort of central to the Hot Springs area south of Windhelm. The next location is Skyborn Altar, another dragon lair, and I think this shout may be one of only 2 shouts where 2 word wall locations are actually dragon lairs.
This must be that beautiful Skyrim weather I've always heard about.
You do normally get good views from up here, but sadly the snow had other ideas. Whoa, Serana, where are you going? Serana is checking out, guys, she's had enough. Let's pick up the word wall and quickly move on. The final word is located inside Folgunthor. It's quite close to Solitude, this one. If we take a look, you can kind of see it up there in the distance, and there is the Blue Palace. Not too far into the dungeon you'll find this dark elf, Danis Valen, and on his corpse will be the ivory dragon claw and his notes. Read these to start Forbidden Legend, if you haven't already started this quest elsewhere. After beating one of the Galdar brothers, you'll find the word wall in its room to the right. This shout is basically the frost version of Fire Breath, this time launching a chilling blast in front of the Dragonborn to deal frost damage and momentarily slow enemies hit by it. It can do okay damage against weaker enemies. Still, much like Fire Breath and Drained Vitality, its damage doesn't scale. And I think it becomes possibly the weakest of the lot late game. And this is because many enemies in Skyrim, like Ice Wolves, Frost Trolls, Wraiths and so on, also have an innate resistance to frost damage. Even Nords have a 50% resistance to it, and pretty much every bandit camp you come across will have the odd Nord. So on this basis I'm going to be cutthroat and place this shout in not useful.
See what awaits us inside.
Next up we have the Ice Form shout, and to get one of the words to this you'll need to join the College of Winterhold.
Skyrim.
After your first lesson you'll go on an expedition to Sarthal, just here on the map. Inside here at the end you'll find a word wall. The next word isn't far from here at all, in fact I grabbed it immediately after, and this is Mount Anthor. I'll just show this on the map. It's directly south. The last word wall you'll find in Frostmere Crypt. If it's your first time travelling to this location, you'll likely encounter this bandit Asa fighting with some of her gang. It's another good quest this I think. I won't ruin the ending, but it's here that you'll find the last of the ice form shouts. Now with this shout you can freeze enemies solid, which is actually quite a useful trick to have. Think of this as basically a paralyze spell, giving you the option of taking a foe or foes out of the battle. I've got bandits on either side here, so I'm going to use this shout to freeze this one solid, and then I'm only fighting on one front then. And once these are dealt with, you can focus on the frozen enemy. Keep in mind with this one that some enemies like dragons and mammoths are immune to being frozen, but still, out of the shouts we've looked at like Frost and Fire Breath, I think this is the best one, so I'm going to put this one in situational. Up to shout 20 in our list now, and this one is Kyne's Peace. Ragnvald is the location for this shout, and this location is just to the north of Markarth. This is another Dragon Priest location. You'll have to find these 2 skulls to unlock the priest's tomb. Mine was amusingly glitched though. He's definitely not supposed to be sat up outside of the tomb like this. Give this dude what for like the rest of them and then claim your word wall. The second word to Kyne's Peace is located here at Ranvig's Fast. You'll have to deal with these annoying ghosts in this location. It's not too big though, thankfully. In this room, be careful not to stand on this trapdoor here. I've definitely not fallen into this before. But I'll just show you where this leads though. You'll end up in Sild the Warlock's trap, who sounds suspiciously like Luke and Valerius.
Fallen for my trap. Greed makes a great lure. Odd you didn't die from the fall, though. Most do. Oh, and don't mind my assistant.
While he's waffling on, should we just pick this lock and kill him? Yeah, let's do that. Down here you'll also find another stone of Baron Zaya on his table. The final word is located in the village of Iverstead. Speak to the innkeeper at the Vilmir Inn and ask him about the barrow.
You don't look like a pilgrim. Why bother?
If I were you, I'd keep away from the barrow on the east side of town. It's haunted. There ain't much more to tell. They're haunted. You should stay away. Look, I've seen one of the spirits with my very own eyes. When it glared at me, I swear it burned right through my soul. Fortunately, they seem to be sticking to the barrow. I think they're guarding it. Certainly isn't helping my business any. Who'd want to rent a room anywhere near a haunted barrow? If you think there's anything you can do, be my guest. Keep your eyes open in the barrow.
This is Shroud Half Barrow here. Inside here you'll find what appears to be a ghost asking you to leave. But we obviously aren't going to listen to him though. If you enter this room behind you and pull the inner lever on the left, and then the inner lever on the right, you'll unlock the gate.
All the living
and you'll then realise that he is not a ghost after all. Read his journal and then take this back to Wilhelm at the inn.
Can't believe this. It was all just a fabrication of this wind. Well, least I can do is...
He will then give you the Sapphire Dragonclaw, which will allow you to progress through the barrow, where you'll find the word wall.
If you pass through again.
Now, Kyne's piece is very similar to Animal Allegiance, which I covered at the start of the video. The main difference between the two is Kyne's piece only soothes animals. It doesn't actually make them fight on your side as the latter does. I'll just demonstrate this out here in the wild. Now, these bears aren't interested in attacking me at all now. This shout also shows you where the animals under its effect are. So I guess if you're hunting maybe, in the wild in survival mode for example, you might find use for this shout in gathering pelts and meat and so on. I'll just demonstrate these two shouts in a fight sense though. Here is Kyne's piece. And as you can see here, the bears don't attack the bandits. Even when hit, they don't fight back. I'll now use Animal Allegiance. The bears now fight on your side, albeit they don't last very long, do they? Leaving you to fend for yourself. So Kyne's piece I'll probably drop into the not useful bracket. If you enjoy hunting on survival mode, you might use it I guess, but I think for most players, it'll stay in your inventory never seeing the light of day. Next on our list is the Mark for Death shout, and you'll find a word for this shout at Autumn Watch Tower. This is found south of Iverstead. To find the next word of this, you'll need to join up with the Dark Brotherhood.
It worked! I knew you'd come, I just knew it! I did the Black Sacrament over and over with the body and the...
Does anyone else feel really sorry for Aventus?
An assassin from the Dark Brotherhood!
Adoptions. None of you riffraff is getting adopted, ever. Nobody needs you. Nobody wants you.
I don't feel sorry for Grelod though. Should we slit her throat in front of the entire orphanage? Ouch.
Someone has killed Grelod!
I submit! Grelod is dead! Aventus did it! Just leave here! Hooray! Grelod the Kyne...
Anyway, after you're kidnapped by Astrid and the weird abandoned shack scene, you can then join up with the Dark Brotherhood, and you'll find the word wall just inside. The final word can be found inside Forsaken Cave, here on the map. Now as always, fight some Draugr, kill a boss Draugr, and then collect the word wall. It's quite common to get a glitch with this shout by the way, so I'll just show this here. Now what Mark for Death sometimes will do is it'll duplicate the Drain Vitality shouts as shown here. I think the unofficial patch might sort this, I don't actually know, but I don't use it. But either way the glitch doesn't affect your game. Now Mark for Death may be one of the strongest defensive shouts in the game, and it has a low 40-second cooldown as well, which is good. What it basically does is it applies a debuff which reduces 4,500 armour and deals 180 damage for its duration. And this makes otherwise powerful bosses much weaker, and it can be stacked as well, which is good. Now I'm playing on a lower difficulty here in order to pull this guide together quickly, but with one of these shouts I was able to kill this dragon in 5 hits, versus what normally would be about 7. If you use this on more powerful dragons, or on legendary difficulty, I can guarantee you this shout will make a big difference, so I'm going to put this one in the essential category. Up next we have the slow time shout, and we're heading to Deepwood Redoubt. If you travel through here, you'll end up inside at this stunning location, and this is Deepwood Vale, which serves as the entrance to where we are actually heading, Hag's End. Head inside there and fight your way up to a word wall at the summit. For the next word wall, you'll need to join up with either the Stormcloaks or the Imperials. The choice is yours. I jumped in with the Imperials. I feel like I never sided with them, but fancied it this time. I also liked how Serana joined in like she was an Imperial soldier, just looking at me across the table.
Is that confidence or bravado? Confidence I can use. Bravado gets soldiers killed. We'll soon follow me.
Your first mission is to recover the Jagged Crown, which will take you to Corvan Yund. After an epic battle with a few strong Draugr at the end, one of whom is wearing the crown, you'll find another word wall for slow time.
Bring back that staff before I'm...
Now to get the final word wall, you'll need to progress the College of Winterhull questline a bit further on. After containment, you'll start the Staff of Magnus quest, and this will take us back into Labyrinthian. It is inside this location we learn what Savos Aren did all those years ago, and find the final word of slow time. At its most powerful, this shout slows down time by 90% for 16 seconds. You are partially affected by the shout, but you can move much quicker than the affected enemies. Slow time will let you quickly dispatch them without giving them much of a chance to fight back. It's a really fun shout this to play around with. I'd say this is one of the shouts I play around with the most. It's great for assassin type builds, so I'm going to rank this one as essential because it's actually useful for any player really. The Soul Tear shout is next on this list, and this shout is unusual in that it is learnt when you use the Summon Durnehviir shout, which we've not actually got to yet on this list. The first 3 times you use this shout in Skyrim, you'll summon the dragon and he'll teach you a word at a time. Now what Soul Tear does is it deals a fixed 300 damage. Also enemies under level 100 killed by the shout are reanimated as zombies to fight alongside the Dragonborn for 60 seconds. While its damage doesn't scale, it's still a lot more than some of the other offensive shouts do. It's double what Drain Vitality does. I'll just demonstrate this shout now. It's killed this bandit in a single hit, and what it will do now is revive them to fight with us. If you have a soul gem as well, it can fill those as well. Now I've not tried this, but I've heard it can even revive powerful NPCs like the Ebony Warrior, so I'm going to rank this shout as strong. Next up we have the Storm Call shout, and you'll find a word for this shout at the very end of the main questline in Skuldafn Temple. Another word to this shout is found in Forelhost, and this location is to the southeast of Riften, and it's another Dragon Priest location, so prepare yourself for a rough fight at the end. The priest is Ragot.
Stay on your guard. Who's there? Where'd you come from?
If you have AE installed, you'll also find this Lost Paladin at the Word Wall. Defeat him to claim the Chrysamere sword, a unique two-handed weapon. The final word for Stormcall is located here at Highgate Ruins. And this location is directly west of Dawnstar. Inside here the player will encounter Ansgar, who requests your help in dealing with the Dragon Priest here, Voken. She's a fairly powerful ally to have along actually. Her and Serana had no trouble in blasting Voken down, and then you can claim the final word of Stormcall. So what does Stormcall do? Well, the Dragonborn can call forth a thunderstorm that lasts for 3 minutes, and it'll randomly strike anything within a large radius with lightning. I can guarantee this is a shout that you'll go out and use as soon as you get it. It's a sight to behold, but it puts your shouts on cooldown for a massive 10 minutes after using it. Now look at what the shout does now. I encountered the companions out here. Look at it consistently blasting them. But because you can't control where it hits, this one can actually be a hindrance. Use it near a city and you'll quickly rack up a massive bounty if you start hitting guards and civilians. Because of this, once the novelty wears off, I find this one stays in the vault. It's a party trick and no more now for me, so I'm going to put this in the not useful pile. Now we have the Summon Durnehviir shout, and you get this one whilst in the Soul Cairn as part of the Dawnguard questline. After battling Durnehviir, he'll request you call him to Skyrim and teach you all 3 words of the shout. You've already seen me use this shout in action earlier, but it's pretty similar to Call Dragon. I'm going to say this one is slightly better though. Firstly, it works like a conjuration spell and summons him instantly, no waiting around for him to fly in. Durnehviir also sometimes will summon Bone Men and Wrath Men to fight with you. I don't think it warrants being any higher than the limited tier though. Higher up than Call Dragon, but still in this banding. Almost at the end now guys, 2 more shouts to go. Shout 26 in my list is Throw Voice. To find this shout, head to Sheer Point, and this is unique as it is both a dragon lair and a dragon priest lair. After dealing with the dragon, I completely forgot this at first and was totally unprepared when Crosis popped out of the coffin. Your reward for fighting him off though is you receive all 3 words to Throw Voice at once. and throw voice can be a fun shout to use. As probably expected, it causes enemies to look in the direction you point the shout, so if you fancy getting up to mischief with a high stealth character, this shout can be a lot of fun, especially in the right builds. You could use this to avoid enemies altogether, or maybe even lure them into traps, which is amusing. Or maybe even so you can stealth kill them from behind. In some builds though, this will stay in the vault, so overall I'm going to put this one in the situational band. Last shout on the list now guys, and this one is Whirlwind Sprint. And we got our first word to this shout right at the start of our journey, when you first speak to the Greybeards, and they teach you this word out in the courtyard. They also give you the knowledge to use it as well, and you'll get to demonstrate your skill. Shouts many words does it in his underpants, as you can see here.
Your quick mastery of a new theme is astonishing.
You've got no idea, Durnehviir. The second shout for Whirlwind Sprint is located at Dead Men's Respite, and this is not far from Morthal, just head southwest.
Nordic ruins, even older than I am.
After you've dealt with King Olaf One Eye, grab the word wall. And our final word location is Volskag, and this is also our last Dragon Priest lair. Once you have fought your way through the ancient tomb, you'll find yourself back outside. The word wall is just here, along with the Dragon Priest Volsung. So what does Whirlwind Sprout do? Well, it propels you forward at massive speed. I guess the obvious use for this is travel. If you play on survival mode, you might find added use for this, but in reality any player can find use for this when needing to get from A to B that little bit faster. It's not just useful in travel though, it can be used to get to places of hidden treasure that is too far for you to jump, or in battle to get either close or further away from a foe. So all in all, this is a strong shout. One final parting gift from me. At this point you'll have every Dragon Priest mask in the game. If you go back to Labyrinthian, inside the mound you will find this altar which will have a wooden mask in front of it. Put this on to be transported back in time. And now place all of the original game masks on the altar here, and you'll receive the final mask. Don't forget to take all of your masks back before you remove the wooden mask again. And now you can proudly display all of your masks in one of your homes if you wish, to show you are a true master of the dragons and dragon priests alike. And that is it. I hope you enjoyed watching this guide and found it useful. And here are all the shouts and where I rank them. What do you guys think? Do you agree with my list, or are there any on here you think deserve to be higher or lower? Let me know in the comments below. I'm Mike the Gaming Dad, and I'll see you next time.